Cyberpunk 2077 recently had an overhaul with their latest 2.0 launch right before their Phantom Liberty DLC release, taunting a more clean and fluid gameplay experience with new ways to experience all of what Night City has to offer. Being that I've never played the original Cyberpunk when it released, since news of it being a disaster hit me before I even had the chance to download it, I figured why not go ahead and give this game a chance and see if they fixed things up and made this game something worth buying as a brand new player. No DLC needed. For this overview, I've decided to divide us into 3 parts: the good, the bad, and the ugly. The game overall has a pretty basic action-adventure RPG style layout, which is easy to follow. The side quests are easily marked which ones are more important and which ones are more collectible based. Even when the main missions are split, it's very clear to see what you're trying to accomplish with the tracker, and the mini-map plays nice too with a route planner. There are also fast travel points just about everywhere to get just about anywhere. Albeit this is better for those who want to push through the game a little bit faster, as you can easily miss a lot of the side things by fast traveling from place to place. Also a side note, I do wish you could fast travel from a menu instead of having to travel to a fast travel location. But that's just me complaining for no reason. Don't worry, I have reasons to complain later. The game also gives a great amount of customizability in terms of how you want to play it. You can be a melee brawler with some crazy powers, a running gunner, stealth assassinator, a sniper from afar, not stealthy though, let's clarify, and much more. There's weapon mods that change how each weapon handles a bit, character upgrades via equipment, and a very in-depth skill tree with 5 different perks you can level up and build between. The devs really tried to make it so that you can choose your own style of play and not feel handicapped in any which way, and I appreciate that. Also a side note, the environment of the game they created is great. As you drive around the city from area to area, you can really feel the work they put in with the details and creating something lifelike and futuristic and what that all entails. The artists did a phenomenal job. Unfortunately, the good list wasn't exactly that long, but I had a lot of personal issues with this game. Starting off with the bad, this part might sound like a contradiction of everything I said previously. That's only because while the game set out to do a lot of the good things I listed, I really feel like a lot of it fell just a little bit flat. The customizability is great and all, but most of the time it doesn't necessarily feel useful. Just to unlock a lot of the different skill trees, minus the basic baby upgrades at the beginning, you have to get each subcategory to level 9. They do start you with a certain amount of points, but you'd still have to get to around level 20 something just to unlock the first level of each and every skill tree. And that's only if you decide to disperse your points evenly. I get that they're trying to get you to pick a certain playstyle and grow that one playstyle, but then you have the overworld unlocks that require different levels on these abilities, and the completionist in me was screaming. From there, a lot of these perks didn't really make me feel stronger, or weaker for that matter. No matter what gun I used, I felt strong the whole time. Minus the occasional boss style enemy here or there, I felt I could handle most encounters with a great pistol of any style really. The quote-unquote better guns didn't really feel any better for me, minus some cool effects like shock damage or energy blasts. Besides that, I have my own gripes with the story and side quests. Albeit these are my own personal opinions and couldn't really be taken as objective criticism, it's also my video, my rules. Slight story spoilers incoming, skip to the ugly part if you don't want these. The story actually starts strong, with V, the main character, having his own reasons to want to make a name for himself. I chose the corpo route, so I can't speak to the other factions you can start with. And all building up to this huge heist and massive betrayal, putting V at rock bottom and quite a frantic situation. All that is great, but from there it just feels really bland and misguided. I'm not sure if the writers were more concerned about having multiple endings and that made the story feel very all over the place, but I just couldn't get myself to connect with it. The relationship with Johnny also feels forced. I get why he's there, but he's shown as this badass F the world kind of guy, and 1 or 2 missions later he becomes borderline sympathetic with V, and besides spewing obscenities, really feels like he lost all the edge in his character. I'm all for character development and personal growth, but it felt very rushed. Again, I understand they show more of his backstory later on in the story with the alt stuff, but still, This is a complaint for me with a lot of RPGs recently, but a lot of the side quests just don't feel worth it. This ties into my other complaint about feeling too strong, but the rewards for doing these side quests just feel not worth the time put in. And the stories for the side quests that I did at least were weak at best. So eventually I just stopped caring to do them, which if you know me, you know I'm a side quest fiend, and I was really disappointed by this. Okay, usually I would just have the good and the bad, but this game had some ugly, and that needs to be in its own separate category. We all know how the game released, the bad press it got, and the performance quality of the game. Crashes left and right, major frame rate issues and bugs everywhere. Fortunately, it seems to be a recurring theme for a lot of AAA releases nowadays, but this was exceptionally bad. Here's the thing though, I didn't play that release. This was a fresh, brand new experience of a supposedly fixed game. A game that was supposed to be polished and released the way the studio wanted. I went in expecting that, but this is what I got instead. The game is fucking broken! The actual performance itself chugs along at best. I have a relatively strong gaming PC with a GeForce RTX 3070 and an i7 10K series. I run dual PCs, so the only thing my gaming PC is doing when it's loading a game is the game itself. There's no reason there should be such massive dips in the frame rate. Someone in my chat, hey, I stream on Twitch, by the way, where you can see all my playthroughs before I make videos like this, link in the description, had to tell me to turn off ray tracing, and it made it slightly better. But why is that necessary in the first place for a product that was pushed out to completion, then re-advertised as a better and more complete product? Beyond that, the amount of times characters and objects just don't behave is just wild. A lot of the AI was buggy beyond belief. For a lot of the people playing games like this, you might just brush it off as, haha, that was funny and weird. But yeah, maybe if that happens once or twice. Maybe I'm just lucky or unlucky, but I had so many instances of issues that it started to get old fast. Take this clip of the end of one of my boss fights. Yeah! T-pose, baby! 2.0, am I right? Whoa! Where'd she go? Cool. I laugh at first, but on stream I have to be entertaining. I was already very annoyed with the game at this point, and you could hear it when I go to do my little BM headshot on the body, and it just vanishes into thin air, and I just pause and I say, cool. Between things like that and then dialogue also cutting itself off during conversations with more dialogue is very frustrating. Kind of like that Sonic Adventure 2 clip.
You're not even good enough to be
I'll make you eat those words.
Then you have Johnny, and this is going to be a controversial one, I think. Like I said before, I understand his role in V's brain and his implementation into the story, but it really felt like he was thrown into random spots for little to no input other than a quick gag comment, and it just didn't really play off for me the way I think they wanted to. It felt more like, damn it, we paid for Keanu Reeves and we'll use him as much as we please. Again, that's more an opinion, but damn if it didn't annoy me to an extent. Also in a lot of those pop-ins, he would just disappear, but don't worry, because his shadow would still exist. After he popped out, you thought I was done talking about the bugs, but I'm not. He's a digital construct. Why does he even have a shadow in the real world? How is he moving things? Anyways, all of this was very jarring, but beyond that, there's also the driving. I've never played a game like this where cars are such a big part and the handling of the cars were just so terrible. It's laughable too, because it felt like each car you drove had different driving styles, but every single one that I found, motorcycle or car, couldn't take a tight turn, which would be fine if there was a handbrake mechanic to drift, but no. Sometimes if you hit the brake or let go of the gas, the car was able to drift, but it felt super inconsistent at best, and a lot of times I wound up slamming into things because of that. Which is fine, I guess, because there's not really a big consequence to that part, but still, it feels as though the cars and driving were just thrown in, but at the same time, they're supposed to be a core component to the game. I also mentioned earlier that there's a stealth mechanic, but there might as well have not have been. A bit of backstory, I grew up and loved the games like Assassin's Creed, video coming soon. And when getting thrown into this game, finding out I could stealthily take out a base, I was very excited. But the stealth mechanics are a bit broken and feel lackluster at best. You can use the environment to distract the enemies and weed them out, but a lot of times when you use the distraction, it winds up not lasting long enough to affect anyone. Either that, or the wrong person goes to the distraction, or the worst is, you sneak up behind the person who's distracted, they glitch out for a second, and you can't grab, and then they turn around and it's just guns blazing again. I eventually just gave up on the stealth and forced my way into every area, and that was a huge disappointment for me. I really wanted to like Cyberpunk going in, and it just didn't quite do it for me. Between the directionless story, the lackluster performance, and the overall game direction, I found myself not having fun. Eventually, streaming the game felt more like a chore and not a pleasure, which sounds super silly for playing video games. I purchased the game on sale luckily for about $35 when 2.0 came out, but as far as I'm aware, it's back to full price of $60, at least on Steam. The reviews on Steam are overwhelmingly positive, so maybe my experience was an outlier, but based on everything I talked about, it'd be very difficult for me to recommend someone new to this game to buy it, at least at full price. Maybe if more updates come out and performance is improved, I could change my mind, but I have too many issues with the core gameplay itself to want to revisit Cyberpunk 2077, even with the 2.0 patch. If you made it this far in the video, make sure to leave some sort of feedback, like, comment, things like that. It's my first time doing this, and generally I would really like to know what you're thinking. And of course it helps the channel and all that stuff too, but really I want to know what you thought. I plan on doing a lot more of these in the future as I get better at it and as I play more games. But until then, I'd really like to know exactly what I can do to get better, or what I did that made you laugh or cry or anything else like that. As well, as I mentioned earlier, I do stream on Twitch all my gameplay. If you did want to see that, feel free to check that out. Links are in the description. And until then, I will see you at the next one. Bye-bye.